Okay, now we're going to work inside Dreamweaver to create a page that is going to dynamically access one of our databases on the database server. So with Dreamweaver open, over on the right hand side, click on the files icon so that we can see the files for our website. You should just have a couple things here now that we've worked on already. Right click at the very top where it says Site PGAS and then pick New File. And let's name this file DB Tools Test. You can really name it anything you want as long as it ends in a .php extension. Go ahead and double click on that file to open it in the editor. If you get this message about the DMX Zone Extension Manager, click on Don't Show Me Again and then choose No. The extensions we've added are all the ones we're going to need, and then you can hit cancel on the next box. We're not going to be installing a whole lot of extensions. Now, the nice thing about the database extension tools is that we don't necessarily need to work in the code view. We can work in the design view. So up along the top, you've got the three buttons, Code, Split, Design. Go ahead and click on Design. So we've got a nice blank page, just like a Word document. And we're going to do some things in here. So for our first example, all we're going to do is get a list of customers out of the customers file from the Northwind database. So let's go ahead and put a title on this page and call it Customer List. And then let's go ahead and highlight it. You may already have the properties bar at the bottom of your window. I'm going to turn on properties, drag it down here to the bottom. So I've got the properties bar. And then I can go under the properties and pick Format Heading 1 to make that be a nice heading on my page. Now, when we display a list of customers, we're probably going to want that list to be nicely formatted. So we're going to create a table to put the data inside a table so that when it lists on the page, it'll be arranged nicely in columns and rows. So let's go up to the top and pick Insert Table. And to begin with, we want to make our table have just 2 rows because we're going to create one row to be the header row with the column headings, and then the second row is where we're going to put our data. And later on, we're going to get PHP to repeat that row for us, so we only need one row to be the template that we're going to work with. So we just need 2 rows to start. And let's make it 5 columns so that we can get a significant number of columns out of our table. Now for the table width, we want the table to use up our whole page. So we're going to set the table width value to 100 and then change the unit to be %. So we want the table to use 100% of our page width. Okay, border thickness of 1 works fine. You can play around with that to see what you like. Let's use a cell padding of 5 and a cell spacing of 5. so that the cells in our table have a little bit of white space around them. They're spread out nice to look at. And then for the header choice, we want to pick top. We're going to have the top row of our table be the headers in our table. And then if we were being nice about the accessibility options of our web page, we would provide a caption and a summary, but right now we're just doing an example, so we'll leave that blank. So once you have all those settings in there, click OK. And so now we should see the table here in our design view. It has 2 rows and 5 columns. All right, now I happen to know the columns we're going to be picking from the database, so we can go ahead and create our headers. The header for our first one is going to be customer ID. For the second column, our headers is going to be company name. Because our customers are all companies in this case. Our third column is going to be contact name. The fourth column is going to be contact title. And then our final column is going to be country, because we're going to pull the country name out of the table for what country this company is from. All right, we've done a little bit of work. Always a good idea to save as you go. So I hit File, Save. In this case, remember we had our site set up to automatically send to the server on save. So that's what's happening here. Dependent files should always be included in the transfer. So I'm going to click Don't Show Me This Again and then pick Yes. That way, anytime I save, it'll send everything I'm working with over to the server. All right, so now we have our basic layout, and we want to be able to fill the rows of this table with data that we get from the customer's table in the database. So we need to set up all that database support now. So go up to the window choice on the menu and pick Window and then Databases. All right, that pops up a little panel. If you want to park that panel over on the side, you can grab it by the second gray bar, drag it over to the right until you kind of see the little shaded glow, and then park it over here so it'll be parked with everything else. All right, so in this panel now, the plus button in the upper left corner is active. So we want to click on that plus button, and we want to create a MySQL connection. Hey, we get this little form to fill in. Let's name the connection name Northwind, because we're going to be connecting to the Northwind database that's on our database server. So Northwind. The MySQL server, in this case, remember these pages are being executed on the web server, so it wants to know where is the MySQL server relative to the web server. The MySQL server is on the same machine, so for the server, we type in the word localhost because the MySQL server is on the same server as the web server. Okay, for the username, type in lowercase u and your 6-digit student number, just like we've been using to log into the database. And the password will be your school password. Now, if all those fields are typed in correctly, you should be able to hit this select button, and it will actually go out to the database server and show you a list of the databases that your user account has access to. And so we want to pick the Northwind database out of that list. In my case, it happens to be the second of the 3 choices that are available. So select Northwind and click OK. Once all that is in, you can click the test button. You should get a connection was made successfully choice, and then click OK to save it. And then now over here in our databases tab, we see that there's a Northwind database listed. And then if you click on the icon to open your files panel, you'll see that there's a whole new folder that's been created under your folders, a connections folder. And under there you can see there's a northwind.php file. This is the magic of these Dreamweaver extensions, is that they're letting you go through some fill-in-the-blank forms to specify properties, and then it's generating the code for you. So if you ever needed to look at what code does it take to connect to a database, you could go look at this northwind.php file in order to see what that code looks like. All right, so now that everybody has a connection to the database, we want to actually start to fill our table with data that we're selecting from the database. So that's done. Same thing under Window. We want to open another little tab, and this time we want to open Server Behaviors. And again, if we want to move this off to the side, you can grab it, and I'm going to put it in the same stack here with my databases. So I've got databases and then server behaviors. And then we're going to click on the black plus up in the left-hand corner. And the first thing we have to do is to define a record set. We have to let our page know which table is it that we want to connect to at the database server. So we're going to pick that first option for record set. And again, we've got a dialog box. In this case, we're going to access the customers table. So let's name this record set customers. Our only connection choice is Northwind because that's the only connection we've created. And then under